win the poll. But after months of anti-government protests, signs of President Gül's disapproval and growing unease amid Turkey's foreign allies, the Turkish premier is facing increased opposition. Well, our correspondents give us some insight into the Erdogan machine and its possible weaknesses.
Couples part ways at the entrance to Erdogan's rallies. Women head one way, men another, to watch a great show put on by Turkey's political animal. Scarves, flags and headbands. Here, his cult of personality is on full show. The women describe him as a real man and fight to get as close as possible to the stage.
In my dreams, I see him and I kiss his hands. He doesn't appear in anyone's dreams, you know. I feel truly blessed.
May God bless him with a long life. I'm very emotional right now. I don't know what to say.
I like the fact he's a little tough. That's the kind of man we need.
He arrives by helicopter, an entrance befitting a rock star, cheered by a delirious crowd. This extravaganza allows the less advantaged to feel like they are part of a dream, at least for a day. After keeping his supporters waiting for hours, he finally arrives in this new Istanbul square, which is holding its first ever rally. For the past month, the Turkish Prime Minister has been travelling throughout the country, putting all his weight behind the municipal elections. This will be the first chance to vote after months of anti-government protests and in the midst of a political and financial scandal. Yet Erdogan is not pulling any punches.
I ask you, what is the point of politics? To be the leader, to be in power. Now in the West, if a leader loses an election, they step down. But our opposition isn't like that. If we don't win this election as the first party, I will step down as chairman of the party.
In power for 12 years, the AKP, or Justice and Development Party, takes pride in having improved the quality of public services in Turkey via construction works such as the extension of public transportation to the lower middle-class districts of Istanbul, where the AKP has its strongest support. In Bağcılar, a metro station has recently been opened. For the local AKP mayor, who is standing for re-election, Erdogan is the force behind this change.
Take a look at Turkey today. Apart from our Prime Minister and the concrete, forward-thinking AKP party candidates, not a single candidate nor one leader is capable of creating projects for this country's future.
But despite the progress it has made, the Islamo-Conservative Party is being severely tested. The main reason is that Erdogan is seen to have an authoritarian attitude. His image has also been tarnished by charges of corruption. Göksel Göksu has been following Erdogan since his political beginnings 20 years ago. She says she no longer recognizes him.
I'm hearing a lot of people say, God forgive me, but I'm going to vote for the main opposition party, the CHP. There are a lot of people who don't toe the CHP party line, but will still vote for them just to get rid of Erdogan.
These voters mean to punish Erdogan, whose Justice and Development Party risks losing votes for the first time since it was formed. This shows just how uncertain the future is for a leader whom many, nevertheless, consider as having had the most profound effect on Turkey since its founder, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now by our guest, Turkish history and civilization professor Samim Akgönül. Hello. Thank you for being with us on France 24.
Hello.
Now, there appear to be two main elements
Thank
here.
you.
Erdogan's political record and persona on the one hand, and then the political alternative to the AKP on the other. Let's start with Erdogan's achievements. Can you give us a sense of how he's brought Turkey forward in the last 12 years?
There is a social achievement. There is no doubt on that. All these popular electors of Erdogan have been during decades as second-category citizens. With Erdogan, they found the power. With Erdogan, they found a pride. So that's why, actually, it is not a concrete achievement. There are some concrete achievements on the public services, on public transportation, these kind of things. But the real achievement is to give to this population a power, a real power. That's why they don't want to lose this power. And if they think that if the opposition re-becomes at the power, they will lose their status of first-class citizens. So that's why I think that for the, fifth time, AKP will actually be the first political party.
And Erdogan now embodies the AKP. He's even lost his voice on the campaign trail. Looking at his personality and politics, how do you explain this authoritarian turn? Was it predictable, do you think?
I think that it is predictable. I mean, if you look at the middle class and if you look at Turkey from the West, of course, this authoritarian discourse, this despotism, this kind of very machiest discourse, disliked. I mean, it is not acceptable. But at the bottom, in the Turkish electorate, it is seen as a sign of power. So I think that he understood since June 2013, since Gezi movement, he understood that if he attacks, he is liked and people follow them. So he continues. He will continue. I think that it won't be the end after the March 30, because in August 2014 there will be presidential elections, and for the first time in the history of Turkey, the public will vote for the president. I think that the tension, the enormous tension in which Turkey found itself will continue in 2014 and even in 2015, because there will be general election in 2015.
Well, looking to that presidential vote in August, will Erdogan stand or is he grooming a successor?
It is a good question. We know that he wants to be president, not only president of the republic as it was, they were the other presidents, but he wants to be a president in the American way or maybe in the French way. He wanted to change the constitution. He couldn't succeed. So it is still the same status of the president of the republic, but he's so strong and he considers himself so charismatic that if he becomes a president, he will be the chief of the executive. So we know that he wants. But the Turkish politics is so complicated, so paradoxical, that it is possible that Erdogan wants to remain prime minister and he presents somebody weaker than him to control him. So we will see that actually the elections, the local elections, are not local elections. These are national elections. And according to the results of AKP, he will decide to be candidate or not.
Well, moving to the opposition now, can anyone muster the political support to offer a credible alternative to AKP? And if not, why?
Well, there are three main opposition movements. The first one is the Kemalist movement, CHP, the historical Kemalist party. It showed itself as a social democrat party. It's never been a social democrat party, but for this election, for local elections, the strategy was very disturbing for middle class electorate, because it was the opening towards the right-wing parties and even the far right-wing parties, nationalist parties, especially in Ankara, at the capital, Turkish capital, but in other cities, the candidates proposed by CHP were nationalist candidates. So the nationalist votes are just targeted by CHP. The second movement is precisely the nationalist movement, and we know that because of the peace process, well, it's difficult to call it peace process, but the peace process between the AKP and Kurds, nationalist movements obtained some kind of support in the population, so they will be around 15 or 20%. And the third one, maybe the main opposition, is the Kurdish opposition. The Kurdish opposition is divided. In the east of Turkey, where Kurds are concentrated, the Kurds are alone. They are proposing Kurdish candidates for Kurdish cities. But in the west of Turkey, they made some kind of coalition with liberal left, socialist left, ecologists, greens, feminists, etc. So if this strategy succeeds, I think that the Kurdish movement also will become a whole entire Turkey's movement, and they will present a candidate for the presidential elections and legislative elections in 2015.
Well, looking now to Erdogan standing on the international stage, does that foreign plot rhetoric have a real impact on foreign policy and international relations?
Well, yes, precisely. There are two types of foreign policies. The first type was towards Europe, the Western powers. But during the elections campaign, this West has been so insulted by AKP that they cut all the bridges. For instance, we will see after the elections. The second direction was Middle East. There was a huge new strategy of Turkey, of Ankara, of opening to Middle East. It started by Iran, and then Iraq, and then Syria. But it collapsed. It's a failure. It's a failure with Iran. It's a failure with Iraq. And especially it's a huge failure with Syria. The last hearings that we have heard, certainly illegal conversations, shown that they are protected. They are preparing a kind of attack to Syria. So it's very important, and it has been heard by Middle Eastern powers, and including Israel, of course. So the situation, the foreign situation of Turkey is more and more complicated. I hope that after the local elections, but especially after the presidential elections, there will be more calm and relaxed foreign policy.
Sami Akgünül, thank you so much for giving us your perspective on that story. Thank you for having talked to us on France 24. Well, that's it from the France 24 newsroom for now. Stay with us for a full news update at the top of the hour.